And this Cartagena, again the parties to CBD, they have signed this protocol. Okay, they have signed this protocol, Cartagena protocol. And what is this protocol? This protocol is basically an international agreement, international agreement, and it seeks to protect, biodiversity, from potential risks posed by modified organisms, right? Posed by modified organisms resulting from biotechnology. Okay. So I hope you are aware with the fact that very aggressively we are taking the research forward for genetically modified, organisms, and these genetically modified organisms, when are reaching in new places, they are threat to many indigenous species, and that is what is Cartagena Protocol. So under Cartagena Protocol, parties have obligations to be discharged so that we can save the biodiversity, we can protect the biodiversity because of the threats which are arising on account of modified organisms, and these modified organisms are the result of biotechnology. So we say Cartagena Protocol is of which year? 2000, and this Cartagena Protocol relates with what? It relates with biosafety. Nagoya Protocol is what? Nagoya Protocol is about equitable and fair distribution of benefits arising out of genetic resources, for which we have attempted creating greater legal certainty and transparency for both who are providers as well as users of genetic resources. Achi targets, you should remember that 2011 to 20, the United Nations declared that as International Decade on Biodiversity, and during this decade 20 targets were to be achieved, divided into 5 strategic goals, and these were termed as Achi targets. Okay, these were termed as Achi targets. Okay, so this is what I would just like you to know. Okay, this is what I would just like you to know. In addition to this, right, I would just like you to remember, maybe some other, conventions, okay, some other conventions. So, I would just like you to remember this. Okay, so if you can remember this UNCCD, okay, United Nations Convention to combat desertification, United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Okay, and this was established in the year 1994. Okay, 1994. And what is the uniqueness of this United Nations Convention, United Nations Convention to combat desertification? That it is the only, or it is the sole legally binding international agreement. So all the parties are legally bound, legally binding international agreement, international agreement sole legally binding international agreement, and this will be linking environment to development, and sustainable development and sustainable land management, sustainable land management. Okay. Now many people, they don't understand what is desertification. Okay, what is desertification? And we are one of the victims, India, desertification. So when we are using this word desertification, basically we are referring to land degradation. The quality, fertility of the land is, decreasing. Okay, fertility of the land is decreasing. Anish Sheikh is saying that UNCCD is already covered in current affairs. Yes. Okay, so just for completion, land degradation. Why I am telling you land degradation? Land degradation. Okay. In dry lands. Land degradation in dry lands is known as desertification, and this can be on account of various factors. Okay, but land degradation on account of various factors in dry land is what is known as desertification. And to combat that desertification, what United Nations Convention was signed in 1994, and since Anish Sheikh is saying that UNCCD is already covered, so I would not repeat. Okay, I would not repeat, but 194 parties are there to this convention. 194 parties are there to this convention, and including India, and India is one of the leading players. Okay, why? Because separate COPs are taking place. COPs are taking place under UNCCD. Separate COPs are taking place, and the last COP has taken place in India only. So COP 14 under UNCCD was held in New Delhi. Actually, it was held in Greater Noida, but inaugural function was in New Delhi. Okay, New Delhi, and I hope you have, since you are saying that it has already been covered. So what was the outcome of this UNCCD COP 14, which was held at New Delhi? Yes, Anish and other, are you remembering? What's the key highlight? Right, what's the key highlight of this 2019? Okay, this was held in 2019, COP 14 under UNCCD, New Delhi. Tell me yes or no. $100 million hectares of land and create 10 million green jobs by 2030, which is known as Africa-led Great Green Wall Initiative. Have you heard of this, no? Anish said that we have covered this in current affairs, so I am just leaving this, but you should read from current affairs this Africa-led Great Green Wall Initiative. Great. Have you heard of this? Yes or no? Tell me. Great Green Wall Initiative. Okay. So Africa-led Great Green Wall Initiative. And this Africa-led Green Wall Initiative, this Green Wall Initiative is about restoration of 100 million hectares of land to create 10 million green jobs by 2030. Okay, so drought proofing of, drought proofing of. So since it has been covered, so I would not like to talk much, right? I would not like to talk much. Okay, I would just like you, right? I would just like you to remember, right, some other conventions. Just one is Basel Convention. Basel Convention. Basel Convention. So this Basel Convention is of which year? Right? It is of 1989. And this convention is about, control of transboundary movements of hazardous wastes. अभी सबसे ज्यादा पोस्ट कोविड ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया, hazardous wastes and their disposal. Okay, disposal. Okay, so actually all the parties, right? Actually all the parties, what they have done, they were worried about the ill impact of hazardous wastes, and their movement and the manner in which they are being disposed. And this is the reason why a convention was signed way back in 1989, which talks about the control of transboundary movements of hazardous waste and their disposal, and that is convention is with the name Basel Convention. There is no need for me to tell you that Basel is in, Switzerland, okay, Switzerland, and this is where this convention was, signed, and this convention is in the form of a regulatory system where, which will apply to transboundary movement of hazardous waste. Okay, then one more you should remember, these are the names also you should, Stockholm Convention, Stockholm, and you should not confuse between a Stockholm Conference and a Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention. This convention is of 2001. Sorry, this convention is of 2001. And this convention, you know very well, was signed at Stockholm, which is in Sweden. Okay, and this is about persistent organic pollutants. This relates with POPs. This convention relates with POP. And what are POPs? Persistent organic pollutants. Persistent organic pollutants. Okay, now what are these POPs? Right? POPs are basically organic chemical substance. They are basically organic chemical substance. They are basically organic chemical substance and they are carbon based. They are carbon based. And once they are released in atmosphere, they will remain for exceptionally long time. Right? They remain intact. Once they are released, then they remain intact for a very long period. Very long period. I would use the word exceptionally long period. They remain there for a exceptionally long period. Okay. So we thought that we must put a check to the release of such persistent organic pollutant. For that, a convention was signed. And we have identified that these are being released because of use of pesticides, because of industrial chemicals, and they are also the byproducts of some other. And what we are doing, we are identifying new POPs and we are bringing them under this Stockholm Convention, so that all the parties which are to the convention, they feel obligated. Okay, they feel obligated to this halt the release of POPs in the atmosphere. So this is about a Stockholm Convention. You should also remember about CITES. CITES. Okay, CITES is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. Okay, this is Convention on International Trade. Convention on International Trade in Endangered species of wild fauna and flora. Wild fauna and flora. It is famous in the name of CITES, or CITES, and this convention is in the form of international agreement, came into force in which year? 1975. Okay, 1975. This convention was signed after many years of negotiations, talks, discussion, disagreement, and then finally there was an agreement among the countries that how they can bring an end to the trade of endangered species of wild flora and fauna. For example, tiger, if is endangered, then there should not be any trade of any parts of this endangered species, and that can be one way in which we can protect, the endangered species. We can conserve the endangered species. Okay, so that is one, and I would just like you to remember, we also have CMS. CMS. This is, Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. Convention on Conservation. Convention on Conservation of A. Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. This is known as CMS. Okay, this is known as CMS. And this CMS is also popular in the name of Bonn Convention. Bonn Convention. Bonn Convention. Okay, Bonn Convention. Almost 117 parties are there from Africa, Central and South America, Asia, Europe, Oceania, and this is a very specialized in conservation of migratory species. So many migratory birds, they will move from one country to other, and this is how, that's very, very important, right? That's very, very important. So what I am just interested in telling you, that you should remember this, right? You should remember this Bonn Convention, and you should also remember this, right? You should also remember this. You should also remember this, that this Bonn Convention, 117 parties are there, including India. But when it comes to CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, many a times this is, referred as Washington Convention. So you should remember that when we are talking about Washington Convention, we are mentioning CITES only. CITES. CITES. So Washington Convention. You should remember this. CITES. CITES is Washington. You just have to apply some common sense also. Washington. Now the name itself is indicative what it would be. Washington Convention. So Washington Convention relates with, international trade in endangered species of wild flora and fauna. Bonn Convention relates with, Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species, right? Convention on Migratory Species. And I would also like you to remember one more, and that is, right, that is CAWT. This is Coalition Against Wildlife Trafficking. Coalition, right? This is Coalition Against Wildlife Trafficking. Okay, this is Coalition Against Wildlife Trafficking. So we have created a coalition through which we want to fight the trafficking of wildlife. Okay, to fight the trafficking of wildlife. And like that, there are some other, right? Like that, there are some other, but I don't want to trouble you too much. But these are the important global conventions. Okay, these are the important global conventions which you should remember. one, if you can remember, one more I am tempted to tell you, Rotterdam. I am just telling you which they have asked in the past. Rotterdam Convention. This convention is of 1998. Rotterdam Convention is of 1998. Okay, and actually this has created, legal obligation. This convention has actually created legal obligation for parties, legal obligations for parties, parties to seek PIC, to seek PIC. What is PIC? PIC is, right, PIC is prior informed procedure. Okay, prior informed procedure. Okay, so whenever, right, whenever Rotterdam Convention, okay, Rotterdam Convention. So Hokip is asking Rotterdam, it's convention, it's not coalition. So it creates legal obligation for parties to seek PICs, and it was initiated by UNEP, and it was initiated by FAO, that whenever we are, exporting or importing food items or other product, they should know that what kind of, pesticides have been used, what kind of chemical fertilizers have been used, what kind of other chemicals have been used. Okay, and only when, they give consent after knowing, then it should be transported. This is what is Rotterdam Convention. So it's about legal obligation for parties to seek PIC, right? To seek PIC. And what is PIC? PIC is, right? PIC is prior informed consent. And this PIC relates with what? Pesticides and industrial chemicals. Okay, industrial chemicals. So they should be knowing that which pesticides have been used and which industrial chemical has been used, and if it is restricted, in that country, then they should be taken the consent that despite knowing that it is being, sent, so this is what is Rotterdam Convention. So I was just interested in having a discussion about these topics in environment and ecology. I would just request you all to go through the material which we have provided, revise the class notes, and also cover those topics which we have discussed in current affairs, which directly or indirectly relates with environment and ecology. And then you need to go to your exam center on 10th of October and you need to give the best shot of yours. Okay, now what I would suggest, right, what I would suggest that, see, approximately 26 days are left or 25 days are left, and I would like you all, whosoever is going to write the prelims this year, okay, that you must study at least 10 hours every day, and if you can take it further to 12 hours, I will appreciate. But in the process, don't, torture yourself. Quality study of 10 hours is, what may qualify to be termed as adequate and sufficient. But if you can take it to 12 hours, okay, then I will feel happy. So you have approximately 300 hours with you. Okay, 300 hours with you. Okay, so we have 300 hours with you. I would just like you to fully utilize these 300 hours for revision, consolidation, and I would recommend strongly that no more expansion. Okay, so in the remaining 25 days, no more expansion in the knowledge base. Have faith that whatever you have done earlier, if you are able to revise and consolidate, no force in the world can stop you, to qualify prelims. In prelims, 15,000 candidates will qualify. There is no point that you will not be, right? You will not be in those 15,000 or 14,000 who will get opportunity to write the main exam. Only thing what is required, next 25 days, you need to keep yourself in a positive frame of mind. Okay, you need to keep yourself in a positive frame of mind. Next 25 days, you need to work hard and you need to make committed effort on ground for revision and consolidation. And you should have a revision plan, right? You should have a revision plan that how you are going to revise. That's very important, right? That's the most important, I would say. Okay, and I would like you all that every day, right, in your daily schedule, 2 hours, next 25 days for CSAT. And in CSAT, you should practice. Okay, you should practice general mental ability and you should practice reading comprehension. And practice is in the term of what? You should, solve questions. And after solving the questions, you should check the answer. And if you have, committed a mistake, you should try finding out why you committed a mistake. Okay? Why you committed a mistake. Where you went wrong. At which stage in the calculation you went wrong. Okay? So that next time in similar question, you don't commit the same mistake. So practice is not only about just making an attempt to solve the question, but practice is also about after solving the question, evaluation, assessment, finding out that if you have committed a mistake in some question, what went wrong, so that next time if similar nature question, same question, you don't commit the same mistake. So in your daily schedule, 2 hours must be for revising, practicing CSAT. And I would not like you, any one of you, to take CSAT, right? To take CSAT lightly. Okay, to take CSAT lightly. Is this clear? So you should not take CSAT lightly. Practice 2 hours every day. Okay, 2 hours every day. So this is number one. Number two, in your daily schedule, at least 1 hour. Now 1 hour just to revise current affairs. Current affairs. Okay, so revision is the key. 1 hour and accelerated pace at a very high, always revise. Which time in the day you feel that environment and ecology, that is history including modern Indian history, India's freedom struggle, art and culture, that is general science and technology, that is economics, okay, that is, other modules which are there. Okay, so module wise you should, right, you should reply. Okay, module wise you should reply. Okay, you should reply. Is this clear? So what I am interested in telling you, that remaining 9 hours, your focus should be on, revising the module. And while you are revising, the first thing you should revise is the class notes of yours and any other notes which you have prepared, on your own. That is what you should revise. Next in the series will be NCERT book and the printed material. A quick revision, morning till evening you can revise, 2-3 books. Okay, that is the speed with which you have to revise. But in every day, out of 9 hours, I would like you that, divert 2 hours where you will only practice MCQ related to what you are revising. Okay, MCQ related with what you are revising. Let us say today, next 3 days you have decided that you will revise polity and constitution. And the first day, 3-4 hours, you have decided that you will revise, what? Let's say that historical underpinnings of Indian Constitution, nature of Indian Constitution, okay, the preamble, the union and its territory, citizenship, fundamental rights and DPSP. This much you have revised today, in 5 hours from your class notes and other notes which you have prepared and maybe some books. Now, after revising 4 hours, immediately you must solve at least 100 multiple choice question from these areas of, polity and constitution. Because this will help you decode mind what immediately should professor would have. Consolidation, accelerated pace of revision is the key to success. Okay, 12 hours you should